Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the extraordinary meeting, Buller District Council, starting today and running through tomorrow and Friday to hear oral submissions on the Zone 1 rubbish collection consultation, and then following on into the enhanced annual plan oral submissions from residents. So welcome, everybody. We've got a few councillors not here. We've got Councillor Reedy attending on Zoom, and Councillor Webb is also attending on Zoom. So I'll open the meeting at 9:02 and go to apologies. Are there any apologies received? One for Ned Telford. Are there any other apologies to tender? Okay, so noting I haven't heard from Deputy Mayor or Councillor Sampson as yet, so we'll assume that they're running late at this stage. Can somebody move the apologies? Councillor Farlett, second Councillor Grafton. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Members' interest. Are there any items today that are in this oral submissions meetings where people wish to declare a financial or non-financial interest? For the name on?
The item B submission. I won't be voting on this.
Okay, thank you. So it's just perhaps something for councillors to think about if they have put in a submission themselves or had a large part in putting together a submission, to consider whether or not they could have a perceived conflict of interest when it comes to decision making. So just that's up to the member to determine, but just flagging that is something for people to consider. Are there any other conflicts to record? Okay, so just noting Councillor Nailon's one. I'll move that way. Is there a seconder? Councillor O'Keefe. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thanks. Oh, sorry, Councillor Howard.
The one council put in a submission. I think there's a conflict.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Howard's against. Okay. Deputy Basher has just joined on Zoom as well. So we're building in numbers. So okay, so it's not in your agenda, councillors, but there is an additional recommendation here around suspension of standing order 4.2, which is the one that time limits our meetings. That we normally do that at the start of these hearings because they extend longer than 6 hours. So I'll move that council suspend standing order 4.2, which reads in part, a meeting cannot continue more than 6 hours from when it starts, including any adjournments, or after 10:30 p.m. unless the meeting resolves to continue. So it allows us to hear the hearings all day. So moved myself, seconded Councillor Nailon. Everyone understand that? All in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, so that is we'll go to agenda item 3, which is the recommendation to receive the Zone 1 rubbish collection consultation submissions report, and then and second recommendation there to actually resolve to hear the verbal submissions from the list there of people on the schedule that has indicated they want to speak to us today. So I will move that we receive the report. Seconder, Councillor Grafton. Any discussion on the report before we move? Okay, all those in favour? Any against? That's unanimous, thank you. And second recommendation there is we hear the verbal submissions from submitters who wish to speak to their submissions. I'll move that way. Seconded, Councillor O'Keefe. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously as well. Okay, so there's a speaking schedule there. Mary McGill Andrews is first up. Our speakers have 10 minutes. We are going to stick to that fairly strictly today because we've got 3 pretty full days of hearings from people. So 10 minutes is your speaking time, and allowing any time you wish to have for questions from councillors. So being almost early, Mary, you're welcome to the table, Councillor.
Just a question on that. Is it 5 minutes speaking time and then?
They've got a 10-minute slot to include speaking and.
So there's no questions if they go the full 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm. So your speakers just come to the either of the 2 seats at the end of the table there and take your time. And
Right. So my submission, which is not really in favour of any particular one, I think that trucking is not long-term viable and it's not environmentally friendly, and we can't just put our rubbish out of sight, out of mind forever. So I think one of the perfect examples of how ridiculous it is that in Westport, people gather up their dog poo, they put it in plastic bags and we truck it to Tasman. And I don't think that's sensible. I think we need to work, or the council needs to work, and the people, to reducing waste, to educate, to reuse, to repair, and to genuinely recycle, not pretend recycle by putting it in piles at the dump. And larger bins encourage more waste. I think we should pay for our own waste. And I do think we should find a way so that visitors to the district pay for the amount of waste they leave. Because I spend a lot of time at a gallery in Westport with not a great deal to do, and opposite a rubbish bin, I see how many out-of-town cars and campers and things pull up at one of those rubbish bins and they take carloads of rubbish and they put it in there. And we welcome them to the district, but maybe we give them a bit too much. Personally, since I last made a submission at the last opportunity on waste, I've got 2 properties. At one house, I put out no crate, 1 bin and 2 bags, and the bin was nowhere near full. At the other house, I put out no crate, no bin, no bag. And under your systems, I'm going to have to pay lots for that because other people have lots of waste, and I don't think that's fair. So that's really my submission. Thank you for listening.
thank you. Questions, councillors?
Anyone got any questions?
Councillor Howard?
Have you any preference on who is the contract? Would it be in-house, like council-led, or should it be a private contractor? Do you have any views at all?
I suppose ideally it would be really lovely if it was actually in-house with council, in my view, because that keeps it local. But I really feel that the council has the role to make the financial decisions on that.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Weston?
Yeah, I see, composting is a big problem too, especially in cities and stuff like that where you don't have gardens, but a lot of people in this will still have gardens and stuff, so, so you wouldn't like to see a compost bin, you'd just say, right, use it yourself.
Sorry?
You wouldn't be for a separate compost bin as opposed to a recycling or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, I think compost bins might be quite good. I've got a garden, I do my own composting. So it's not, but for those who don't have those opportunities, I do think perhaps a compost bin would be good. But again, it's educating people to actually put the right things in it so that it's useful. And that's where I think everything has to start, with educating. Because our current big bins, with the black with the yellow lid, like there's so few things that we can actually really put in them now that I think they're a bit out of date, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. Awesome.
Leave you to the rest of them.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Graham Howard was next, if he's not out there. I imagine he would be in. So Kia, you're welcome, I think, to come up and do yours now if you're comfortable.
Alright. I've got a few photos that show you that Caitlin's going to get displayed. Thank you. As an introduction, I read the thing and it said extra information as what this is about. So I haven't sort of reiterated my submission, but having just heard Mary, and while this is being set up, I will just reiterate that I totally agree with what she said there. More bins and encourage more waste. Education is really important. And to speak to your green waste question previously, I would advocate that it was shown in Tauranga that they reduced waste to landfill by 50% when they implemented a green waste collection. That's obviously a lot more city and urban than here, but it could be something to be looked at, and it's been shown in a lot of places that food waste is a high component of waste to landfill, creating a double problem with the gases that it creates plus the volume that it takes up. So yes, I propose really that the council needs to look very, very seriously and very hard and be aspirational in looking at how they can implement zero waste. The last few times I've been to the dump, well, actually, I've lived in the district about 2.5 years, and I've been to the dump twice with my actual house rubbish. And both times I've had minimum charges, and I've taken away something. One time I took a mirror, another time I took a letterbox. So really, I don't put out a bag. I don't pay for it. I don't want to pay for any sort of allocation to me to have rubbish. I want to be encouraged to reduce my rubbish. And in the long-term plan, there were several things that were listed about redoing, repurposing, reusing, putting in green waste recovery, transfer station renewals, and so on. And so I really think that is where the council should be going. The existing contract ends soon, as I'm sure you're all aware, and this is a chance to implement a significant increase in the reduction of waste to landfill by looking at how that contract could be put out to whether to someone with more of a passion for it or with an in-house, but to look at how you can actually do it to make a real dent in the journey to zero waste. Next slide, please. So in the last little while, well, I've been to different places. I've made a point of going to the resource recovery stations every little town I've visited, and they're all much better than Buller. Probably last in the list, I would say. This is Marlborough, as you can see. They have lots of selections of different types of recycling to go into these things. All the waste is sorted by the person bringing it there. They have a reuse shop. They have a salvage yard. Next slide, please. This one's Taramanui. This is my friend Emily Jasmine. She works for the Ruapehu District Council. She's a waste management person. She started this recycling centre in 2021 from absolutely nothing. It's now runs enough income to pay for a staff member to assist her. She has several volunteers that she manages. And Westport has a shed like this, and it's storing plastic. Plastic doesn't even need to be inside. So you could easily, and this is only a small sample of it. She actually has a yard with building materials and so on. Next slide, please. And this is Oakuni. This one, the Ruapehu District Council separated out the contract for Oakuni. This guy is someone who is really passionate about it. He's set up the whole contract in the area. He does all the rubbish collecting. He does recycling. When people come to him, he actually makes sure that he goes through the rubbish with them. Quite labour intensive, but obviously he finds it worthwhile. And I didn't get the chance to look into the model of it, but it actually says he pays money back to the community. So I presume that's from some of the stuff that he's selling. Well, he goes through the trailer with people, he's educating them, he's talking about it. People get to learn what to do and get much more effective at it. Next slide, please. And this is the ultimate Raglan, extreme zero waste. Full dismantling and repurposing centre, training for locals. Everything, as they say, go through the whole rethink, reduce, repair, reuse, repair, recompose, recycle before we go out. But I personally know how hard it is to buy anything without plastic, because that's what I've been trying to do recently. And honestly, it's a struggle, but I'm working on it. However, so my suggestion is Buller should get ambitious, do something like this. And at least you could start, next slide please, by using that thing. It's huge, that shed. Look at all this area you've got here. Plenty of places to put building materials to be repurposed. In fact, a builder that came to see me the other day said he'd just been to this meeting place and taken something that he needed for something that he was going to do. So we're just wasting effort, places, everything. So if you want someone to manage it, I'll do it for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kia. Any questions? Screen back, Councillor Nolan.
Yeah, just in terms of zero waste or moving to zero waste, who should pay the cost? People with the waste or the general ratepayer?
The council, we should be pushing back on the people that are producing it and making us buy that waste. So last time I went to Mitre 10, they couldn't sell me a plug without wrapping on it, so I didn't buy one. That's where we should be starting with it. We should be putting it out there that we don't need every vegetable wrapped and sealed in plastic. Let's shop with our feet and go where we can to get those things. Generally, council doesn't get enough money from the government. That's one of the biggest things, I think. Yeah. But I mean, like that Okuni place, he was actually putting money back. It wasn't costing them money.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Weston?
Yeah, I noticed last council, when I was on the last council, pamphlets were a big issue, and they've since sort of died a natural death, thank God. So, and that made up basically 90% of our recycling, stuff like that, because your letterbox was full after 1 week. So I've seen that, but you know, that's another issue. That's where people need to be educated. 90% of them wouldn't have got read. So, yeah.
I do, my friend at the Tamanuri shop actually has a little sign that she's got that we can stick on our letterbox to say we don't want any of that stuff, so that we don't have to just go and put it back into the bin.
That's right, Keith.
Yeah. So just reiterating what Joe asked, Mary, would you be in support of it being in-house with council or contracted out?
I would be supporting it of either of those models where the company or entity running it has some passion for what they're doing to go towards that zero waste goal. It doesn't need, I don't mind whether it's council or whether it's some private company, but I think council could ask for some demonstration of measure of how they're going to, how if it was to let to a private company, what they were going to do. I mean, if you do it in-house, you should do the same thing. So it's more to do with demonstrating that you're on a genuine zero waste journey somehow. And if you want to work at metrics, I could help with that possibly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And just make sure you wave out online if anyone is wanting to ask a question. Okay, that looks like a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Graham Howard. Next. You have 10 minutes altogether.
Morning, councillors. Thank you for hearing me. I'm against the, well, as you've read my submission, I hope you've all read it. I'm against the compulsory collection for the simple reason that, well, reasons. Space in a lot of yards now, we're getting people that are having smaller and smaller sections. And if you put a bin in them, you've got to keep it somewhere because it's a solid thing that is there permanently. So with a bag, you can have 50 bags in a bundle like that and just take one as you want them. Certainly you've got to fill it and have it somewhere, but it's not a permanent thing. The other advantage of the bag is that you can take it to the dump when you want to. You can pop it in your car and take it down there and dump it. And that's what I do. I never put a bag out. And it's amazing how many bags are taken down there. You may not have gone down and seen, or you may, I don't know. If you're interested, you will have been down to have a look and see what happens down there. But compulsory bags is a drain on the ratepayer that doesn't put much out because he's paying for everybody else, and I believe that it should be user pays. If you use it, you should pay for it. And that's the way that it is with a bag. And you can take it down, you can please yourself when you take it. It's not a case of having to remember to put it out. Now, it's the convenience of the drop-off. We should be encouraging composting more and more. You should be having either days or evenings, maybe a weekend in a garden, get a keen gardener that knows what they're doing with composting. I see the Westport News has had some articles in. But cut down, look at how you can cut down on the waste. At the moment, it's just, well, throw it in the bag and the hell with it, it doesn't matter. I compost everything that I can. Paper, you name it, I compost it if I can. And I think that you should be encouraging that for a start. Because, well, it's good for the planet and it cuts down on the waste. In your costings, there have been guesstimates. You haven't got any firm figures at all. You're guessing how much it is going to cost and you don't know. When you have your tenders called, are you going to call another consultation? If the tenders are higher than you expect, you say they're between this and that. They could be double that, you don't know. And you called a submission under false pretenses. There's no doubt about that, because you can't give the ratepayers a true figure of what it is going to cost. If it's another 50% on it, what are you going to do? Just say, well, that's what they want. That's what they'll get. Or are you going to have another consultation to see if people can afford it and what's going to happen? Now, another thing that you've got to look at is, say, fly tipping. The rubbish dump used to be open, and I pointed out in my submission to you, the rubbish dump used to be open, free, 24 hours a day, but we still had fly tipping. This fly tipping as long as the earth has been here. People don't go down to the rubbish dump or to the designated area. They'll tip it wherever they can if it's handy. I see that quite a lot. Now, the cost of the bins. The statement has been made, well, the bins, the rubbish isn't going to cost the ratepayer anything, but we've got to buy bins, and that is going to cost a considerable amount. There's no doubt about it. And has that been factored in? I see where the statement has been made, and I've pointed it out to you people, that it's been said the bin's not going to cost the ratepayer. Well, who else pays for them? Are we getting another handout from the government? Or have we got some money tree in the backyard up in Brome Street? Who's going to pay for them? Can I ask you that? It's a really false statement to say that bins are not going to cost anything. So I would ask that if you have read my submission, that you take into account all the things I've pointed out and summarised to you, and go for the bag system, remain the way that we are at the moment. Councillors, I do feel that you don't really take a lot of notice of what the ratepayers submit. There's no doubt about that. We've seen that just recently with your speed limits. 6 of you could have blood on your hands. I hope you don't, but there's 6 of you here that could have blood on your hands in your decision. Okay. With that, that's all I've got to say. It's just, I would request that you go through my submission again and read the summary of it. If there's anybody got any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions, councillors. Councillor Howard.
You expressed a view that you find the plastic bags more convenient, but how do you feel about the fact that the plastic is not compostable? Do you have a view about the bags being plastic, about them not being compostable? You can be views about this?
Well, I feel that there's a lot of plastic bags now that aren't compostable. They'll last 18 months or 2 years. There's storage, I understand. I'm not a scientist, but I understand from what I've been told that they will last for 18 months, 2 years in storage. So I can't see why you're not using a compostable bag. I don't think that you're going to order a 10 years supply of bags when, if they are only compostable, and I wonder now how many bags that you order or for how long ahead you look to order bags. But there are compostable bags, I understand, and I think the council should be looking at that.
Any other questions? Councillor Naylor.
Just in terms of the bags versus the bins, it looks like about 30% of the population, or those that submitted, are in favour of the bins and the bags, and 70% in favour of bins. Who do we listen to, the 30 or the 70?
Well, the majority have spoken, haven't they? I'm just putting my view for it, in the fact that, as I said, sections are getting smaller and smaller. I said one being built on now where probably you'll get one house and a car, and that's just about it. And you look in the cities and see what's happening. Okay, we're not a city and we're very fortunate to live here and the way that we do live. But I think that the bag system has got the advantage. You can't put a bin in the back of your car when it's full if you've got something stinking in it, where with a bag you can take it down. That's...
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Webb, online.
Thanks for your input. Just wondering whether the bag option or the bin option goes ahead, there will be still the option that you can use just a normal bag, like a black rubbish bag that you buy at the supermarket, and then you can take that to the transverse station and pay per weight as usual. I'm just wondering if that's still going to be an option for staff. Would they answer that?
We'll save that for deliberations.
Okay.
Just a slippery slope if we start.
I just wanted to clarify that you can still access he's talking about his argument about having bags or not, that the bag option will still be available whether it's a wheelie bin or a bag option at the gate, but you can still dispose of your waste whether it's in a bag, a box, or the boot of your car, throwing it out.
Yep, you can still self-take waste by the ute load or trailer load or boot load and have it weighed out at the station. Any other questions? No, thank you, Graham. Thank you for your interest.
Have a good day and good deliberation. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we're a little bit early. Is there anyone else sitting here that is going to speak? Okay, looks like we've got a little gap.
Sorry, just no one else here.
Okay, thank you. It's a little bit early for adjourning. When's she due?
10:40 online, but I've got nobody to attend.
Looks like we've got about a 10-minute gap, councillors, if you, I wouldn't disperse too far, but just wanna- Paul, then, are we? Okay. Paul, Mr. Reynolds, our 9:40 is not on there, so if you want to, you can do yours now.
Oh, wait for my time, timely, so.
Cool. Yep, no, we can sit and wait 10 minutes and then.
Gather my thoughts and.
That's fine. Yeah, just meet it. Councillors, just a quick update. The next one was going to be on Zoom. They haven't turned up just yet. And Mr. Reynolds is due at 9:50, so he wants to wait till then. So we'll just mute for another 10 minutes or so.
I don't think it's a good deal. But that was going to Good week,
So Fiona just didn't turn up.
if we were looking at John Bartlett, we'd be down, but there's a people like
That information out there.
Rightio, councillors, we'll come back to order. Okay, Mr. Reynolds, you've got 10 minutes, all up. Feel free to come up to the table, either of those two chairs, or stand, whichever you wish.
Good morning, everybody. We're here again for a second consultation after a first failed one. And obviously we've left it in the hands of the same person who was out of touch with the community for the first, because the second is totally out of wavelength with the community again, because most people looked at it and said, there's no prices on here. And I do know, after talking to one councillor, they've been misled into believing that you can't get prices from contractors and expose them to the public, which is quite false. So that councillor that told me that needs to do some homework and go back to the staff that informed that you can't get prices and let the public know what each contractor is willing to charge, because that is the way it's normally done. And that is missing on here. And I know most people looked at it and thought they don't want any of them. And quite arrogantly, there's a statement there saying, please note, if none or more than one is ticked, your submission will not be counted. So you've got to indicate that you like one when you don't. And the other option is you'll discard your submission altogether. And I call that arrogant. So submission one wasted tens of thousands of dollars with one option, wheelie bins, and a quick whip around the office at council, asking a dozen people would have found that that was totally out of view with the community, and surely a councillor would have informed the person putting that first consultation together that you have a policy that user pays is the way that you collect rubbish, and have mandatory charges was just the exact opposite of that. So the second debacle, if you engage the same person, obviously you can't expect much difference. Consultation 2 seems aimed at a contractor who has equipment to pick up bins, and there's only one to do that. And so therefore you're left with a monopoly situation where that contractor, knowing that, can charge a premium. So you're putting the ratepayer in a position where they can pay more unless you get an option where contractors can price where you do not need a bin lifter to dispense with the rubbish. Because if there's only one locally, then you end up with a situation like we had as February of this year approached, which is when your contract expired and you hadn't got off your backside to organise this process at least a year before that contract expired, where a price was set between BDC and the contractor behind closed doors, and we end up with something like a 30% jump to $9.10 that's not based on any tender process. On this document here, there's no option for council's landfill site. It has a landfill site. It can be opened. Ratepayers need to know what it costs to use that landfill site. Resilience is one of your words. There's no resilience in here. If you've got a wheelie bin full of rubbish and the road's out to Nelson, what do you do with it? Where do you put the rest of the rubbish the next week and the next week? If the road to Nelson is out for some weeks, if we have an earthquake or some other disaster. So resilience, there is none. There's no option for just a bag pickup, because with that, you'll get the comparison between what anyone can do with a bag, any contractor can do with a bag, regards compared to a bin pickup. If you could imagine a tandem trailer driving around town, you put 100 rubbish bags on, and your current suggested price is over $10 each, that's $1,000 worth. $1,000 worth of bags on a tandem trailer taken to the dump and charged the per tonne fee. There's an awful lot of extra money in it there somewhere. It just doesn't ring true to mathematical sense. There's no mention of here how you're going to pick a contractor. The words status quo for option one, what does that mean? The situation at the moment, just a price arranged between council and the contractor behind closed doors, because that's what we've got, $9.10. So if that's the suggestion, it's an obscene suggestion, because it shouldn't happen that way. It should be done by tender process. You have an advanced policy of user pays. All of these options result in a bin being provided. Well, I don't use a bin. I've got 2 other bins I don't use. You've had over $3,000 out of me in the last 20 years for those bins not being used for charges that you put on recycling that I don't use. So this bin for this process will cost, what, $100? And so you're going to provide one to me that I have to pay another $100 for, even though you have a user pays policy. So for those that don't want to opt into the wheelie bin, how are you going to allow them to avoid the $100 fee for a bin that they can line up in the backyard with the other 2 that they already don't use? So it's not covered in the paper here. There's also no mention of how long the contract will be. And the 30% rise last time to $9.10 was followed on from something like 20% the year before. You lot just can't seem to exist within the realm of the normal rate of inflation. And I read in the paper just last night that the country's inflation is largely governed by council rates. So they're leading the way. You're the cause of it, of inflation, largely, and you tend to think that you need to increase your charges because more than inflation, because somehow your costs are more than inflation, when quite clearly they aren't. So I didn't tick any one of those 4 options because none of them suit me. And no homework was done to see what did suit the ratepayer. Because everyone I talked to said, we need landfill sites, we need prices. And there's neither here, no landfill, no prices. So anyone that wishes to ask me a question, perhaps you could explain to me first what you think status quo means, because to me it's unintelligible.
Questions, Council?
I found the prices here. The prices are here in the proposal. So where did you go?
Well, when I say prices, I mean a tendered price, not just a figure concocted out of mid-air like the $9.10 was.
Oh, they're all here. So how did they take them all out of the air?
Look, they're estimates, not prices that are obtained by tender. They're different. You don't understand them.
I do so.
Well, are they tendered prices from a contractor?
No, they're not.
Right. No, well, we're talking about 2 different things. I'm talking about you need to go to a contractor and say, what price will you charge us to pick up rubbish and let the ratepayer know what that is. Those figures are just gerrymandered.
I don't think it matters what price to charge, you're not going to pay it anyway.
Right, moving on. Councillors, any other questions? Councillor Grafton.
So, Paul, just going on, if you don't like any of those 4 options, what would be your preference for rubbish collection for the district?
For the district, I think that first of all, you've got to tender it, put it to contractors and get some real prices in. The ratepayer needs some real prices, not just.
That will be done, but what's your preference for bins, bags?
When will it be done? Because it appears that you want people to pick an option, and then you'll tell them what it's going to cost. And quite frankly, we don't trust you because your prices are in your rates and fees and charges are also significantly above the rate of inflation, that's just price gouging. So we don't trust you. We need you to go to a private contractor and get prices in and expose those to the public, and then make a considered opinion. And they can't make a considered opinion on this, where you expect them just to pick an option and then you pick a price. No matter what it is, whether it's bins or bags or whatever.
Any other questions? Oh, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, who's next? Frida. Frida Inter. It's been on time. So community minded. Frida didn't turn up. The 10 past 10 one is Lynn Duncan, who is supposed to be in person. So we'll give her a few more minutes. I'm not here yet. And then we've got a morning tea break. We'll just go back on.
Just mute it.
Getting hungry.
Okay, councillors, that's another, just order, please. That's another no-show, so we will go to a morning tea break and we'll reconvene at 10:40. Quite unfortunate, but the opportunity's there. People have expressed they want to speak and they're not turning up, but we can't do a lot about that.
Is it possible to have a hard copy of the submissions, the summary, yeah? Because on screen it's very small, and you can go across, because most times we do get a hard copy
Of the report.
of the hearing, doesn't it? Yeah.
This report, the governance team are running a number of copies for me and the chief a little bit.
Yeah, and not necessarily, this one's okay, but for hearings.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Understand your plan, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
This one's okay.
Thank you. Well, in that case, then I'll work.
But it would be handy to have hit the page number opposed to submission number.
Just what they might want to hear. Oh, they're not going to get the benefit. So is everyone clear what Rose is asking for? Because I'm not quite.
Yes, you're wanting A3 copies of the submissions, for the enhanced annual plan submission summary, yes, yeah.
And then flip that to, we can, go back and forth.
Okay, thanks. Right, our team will adjourn until 10:40. I think he's here, he was talking to,
Who was it for?
a guy called Tony Harrington.
We need to spot some of the stuff, notes.
Oh, yeah, I'm just
No.
We're back on.
Yep, okay, welcome back everyone, we're just getting the next speaker, Harrington, is it? Yep, welcome, so come up to one of these two seats up here. You've got 10 minutes to talk to us on waste.
Well, I've never spoken at council meeting before, so this is all new to me, so please bear with me, I'm ignorant about a lot of things. I'd just like to say that I think your plan for the system that you laid out there is about the only sensible bloody idea there is on the list there. It seems like it's the sensible way to stop a lot of rubbish being dumped around the place, burnt in home incinerators and in fireplaces and in piles of rubbish around the residential areas. And it'll stop people just piling it up in their backyards. It's just the most economical way as well. It would balance out that it's all done systematically and it's just bloody common sense. What else I'd like to say?
So just quickly, so you're advocating for which of the four options?
Option 4.
Option 4, okay, cool, that's just everyone. Thought you probably were, but no, good. Yep.
Sensible way of doing it.
Yep.
It sounds like, from what I can understand, that it would actually cost a damn sight less in the long run. Just looking at the current system, with the rubbish bags, just cost alone, 4 or 5 years ago, it was approximately about $35 to buy a bundle of them. With the cost rises, that's now 50. And I think I can remember when I first moved to Westport, about 6-7 years ago, it was under 30. And I think that with having it with option 4 there, that it's a charge that's charged up front, so people will actually use it because they've actually paid for it, rather than all the other systems where even with the bins seem a lot more practical than the bags. So even at option 3, you've still got the people who aren't going, no, it's too expensive, I'm not going to pay for that, pardon my speaking. So that you're still going to end up with not being utilised the way that would be efficient. And on a side note myself, with the recycling bins and the audits on those, I would almost like to see a writing whereby that they're not audited on a schedule, but almost on when opportunity arises, so that people would realise that, hey, it might just be this week that they might just have a nosy and an audit look in what is in my recycling bin. So I'd better be conscious of what I'm putting in there. And I also believe that with the option 4 of the bins, like you've got, on average, you would have the 2 bins sitting side by side in your back, yard or whatever, that instead of thinking, oh, yeah, that might be recyclable, I'll throw it in there, I'm not sure about it, into the rubbish, and that should prevent a lot more contamination of the recycling of that. So I haven't got much to say, folks, but
we can take any questions if councillors had questions.
Do you have any preference to whether it's tendered to an outside contractor or whether it's brought in-house to the Buller District Council managing the waste management?
It's something I have not thought of myself. I think I mentioned it would be almost the same to me, because the council would still be, looking at how it was being run by another company, and if it wasn't being done efficiently, correctly, etc., then it would be changed. I'm sort of thinking that if it was run, but you guys would still be managing it, or overseeing, auditing them, if you know what I mean, or checking things like that.
Okay, any other questions, councillors? No, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully that wasn't too painful.
A little bit. Yes, I've never spoken to things like this. It's just that I think that is just the most sensible idea you've got. Another thing that hasn't come up, but I've actually got two more questions here. With the different sizes of the bins, I'm a hermit bachelor, so chuck me a 120 bin, when it arrives, and 12 months down the line, I realise that I'm, quarter filling it, half filling it each time. Then, changing it then. But I'm also thinking, if scenario, just say I ended up during the year, suddenly there's 17 people living at my house, and changing to a larger size bin. Could that sort of have an area there where you can come along during the year and change up or something like that, and have it that it's available to that. The charges change, of course, but when the household situation changes so much that it can be arranged to do that.
That's good feedback. That's good feedback.
And the other thing was that with costings, etc., and that through the rates bill, etc., and all that. Another thing that I find personally, that it's on the rates bills are going up everywhere. Everything in the country is going up. Everyone's whinging about it, but it's on there so that people might actually realise that any time that instead of forking out 50 here, 50 there, 50 there, that for their accounting side of things, like you can still claim it back on you. It's still being claimed. You can still claim it back on certain businesses, etc. Or the charge there, it's already on there. It's on your rates, so you can sort of claim it. It's there instead of claiming individually on your each time you buy a rubbish bag. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep. The once a year charge.
Once a year it's charged, it's on there, it's there, your accountant can see it if it's accountancy or whatever, and see it there, bang, it's there, rather than having to come up with receipts and all that all the time. It's a lot more simple.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah. And another question I do have to the council actually. is there any knowledge of how much it actually costs the bloody ratepayers for all the stuff that's got to be picked up around the district?
So the fly tipping and that, you mean? Yeah, I don't know. It's substantial though. Yeah.
It's substantial.
That's included in general rates.
Yeah, that's included in general rates, so we're already bloody paying for it, paying now. And the other thing is that, you know, I almost get the feeling, I know everything's going up, but if it was efficient, the way that the bin system was, it's a lot easier on the guys using it. And you can put the bloody things out at night without getting all the local livestock in there. It could increase at a lower rate, or maybe not increase at all if it's run efficiently, etc., and things like that. That increases might be minimal if it's, you know, you haven't got trucks going all over the place, etc., and all that, and twice as often, and those sort of things. So
regimented. Yep. All right. Thank you. You've used your 10 minutes very efficiently. So thank you for your time, and we'll we go through these hearings for the next 3 days, and then deliberate next week on what option we're going to go forward with.
And just as a final matter for myself. Being a hermit bachelor and that, I actually bought a number of bags last time before they went up. I've still got a couple left in the cupboard, so I won't go through an awful lot. It would probably be less cost to me to have the rubbish bag system, but it's not the bloody best for the district.
For the town. Yep. Okay. Very good feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Joanne Smith at 10:50. You're not Joanne? Okay. So it looks like we've got a little delay again. Councillors online. That's our last one, I think. Yep. Okay, we'll just see if the other ones due. We'll swap around. Jane and Mike, if you are ready and comfortable, you can, because the one before you hasn't turned up, so you're welcome to come up and take one or both of those chairs and have your 10 minutes. So this is submission 133, councillors.
Right. The rubbish charges, how are you proposing to do it? Like, is it going to be user pays?
Well, that's for 4 options, so we haven't decided yet. That's what this process is about.
Right. At the moment, we're paying $171 a year for our rubbish to be taken away, and we only put the bin out 4 times a year. And now you guys are talking and increasing it to $700. 701.
Well, there's so many different so many different prices here, you don't know which is which.
Why aren't you doing it like user pay, barcodes or something similar?
It's one of the options.
And another reason, it's been 20 years since you had rubbish dumps in this area. How come you guys haven't looked at a new landfill?
Like Stockton and what was that other one now?
Wholesome.
Yeah.
I worked on the East Valley project in Nelson years ago, and all that was clay basin and with the water treatment and everything down the bottom of it. So why can't you do it here?
It's not what we're consulting on, but we'll note that preference. It's been looked at. There's been various.
How long do you keep looking before you start doing something?
Yeah, well, not cheap.
Well, it's not gonna get any cheaper. And you were going to go, what was it, a waste of energy project, weren't you? Why can't you just have a smaller waste of energy project instead of bringing all the rubbish from Christchurch? Because with rubbish, you get rats and rodents and everything. Because you've got to stockpile it somewhere.
Yep.
So just to work through the options, do you support a pay as you throw or a mandatory charges for everybody?
I believe pay as you use.
Maybe you should pay for your own rubbish.
Well, you know, you might put your rubbish bin out every fortnight, I don't.
Yeah, that's right. And then the other thing is, do you support the council contracting out all of the rubbish to someone else like they do at the moment with Smart Environmental, or do they bring it in-house to the council and do it themselves?
No, I believe the council here should do it. Like, another question is how much is Smart making out of all the recycling? Like, I see that I've got fadges of aluminium cans, and I went to take a gas bottle there, and they were going to charge me $10 to dump my gas bottle there. That's all scrap metal.
So you said in your submission to, you put your rubbish out 4 times a year, was it?
Yep.
So do you currently do sort of what would be called option 2? So you get a bin from Smart Environmental and you pay every time you put it out. Is that what you do?
Well, they charge me $171 a year.
For your rubbish?
Well, that's what it says
On the rates there.
Oh, for recycling? For
Yeah.
the yellow bin?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do for rubbish? You buy the
What
bags?
rubbish?
Yeah, we buy a bag.
Yeah.
We might buy one
Yeah.
every blooming month. So what, you got one here, so supply 60 bags. Yeah, how many? 9.
For a year.
How many bags?
Well, it's one a fortnight, isn't it?
No, we wouldn't use that much. There's only Jan and myself. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are only partners in that, so.
So if you were to choose one of the options, do you think like having a bin that you pay each time you put it out, would that suit your household?
That would be my preference, yes.
So just with that document you've got there, it's sort of option 3 is what that is sort of suggesting there.
Option 3, that doesn't have a, 120 litre.
Yeah, and you just pay them.
Yeah, so we wouldn't pay the annual fee, which you've got $4.42 here. We'd pay $17 each time we put out the bin.
That's my understanding.
Right.
The annual charges if you were putting it out every fortnight. But you're paying as you put it out, so.
So it would only cost us $17 when we put it out.
Correct.
So it'd be $80 a year instead of $171.
If you put it out once a year.
No, 4 times a year.
Oh, so I think you're getting a bit confused with the recycling and the rubbish, separate things. This is asking about the rubbish, not the recycling.
So you'll still have your recycling, you'll have your yellow bin.
We put our rubbish in a bag and
We use a black rubbish bag.
which we pay $9 at the moment for.
But the yellow bin is the recycling one, that's what you're talking about on the options, isn't it?
Just the rubbish, right. So, well, user pays, isn't it? Isn't that the law in the country, or has that all changed
That's
now?
what we're asking now, what people want.
Well,
So that, oh, well, we don't have 120 litre bin, we don't do that 3.
No, so that's what the new proposal was suggesting.
Okay, so what is it for the 240?
It would cost more.
That's the one that we want to pay as we put it out.
40 litre.
Yeah, so, yeah. So we want either a tag or, you know, a barcode on it, something. Because we don't want to pay, you know, for everyone else that's putting out.
So I suppose if you had a preference of user pays, would you prefer to still use a rubbish plastic bag or a bin?
oh, bag's just as handy for us, like, we come into town a couple of times a
We
week,
can just
so
take it down.
no
to the
big
dumpers
deal.
now. It's the same with the glass one, we don't use the glass bin. We just take the bottles in.
Okay. Any other questions, councillors?
Is there anything else that you want to know? Because you came in here asking for questions.
Rubbish dump, you got a rubbish dump up at Buckland Peak about to happen, is it?
$30 million.
What about this fly tipping? Have they ever thought of having, I don't know, one day every 2 or 3 months for free? You know, everyone taking what they've got, if you want to get rid of it, instead of having it, you know, all over the beach and down in the bush.
Do you think that they would help, or do you think that people that fly tip just fly tip anyway?
Yeah, but you can only try it, can't you? You don't know that, you know, I mean, you see, you know, old microwave ovens and just other junk and that all in the bushes around the place, around the Buller.
Councillor Naylor?
Yeah, can I just clarify, at the start you said your rubbish gets picked up 4 times a year.
I put my rubbish bin in with the big bin out 4 times a year.
So this is the recycling bin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you take your rubbish
to the rubbish dump.
To the dump.
In the plastic bag.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
And we take the glass and I mean, we went somewhere else to get rid of our gas bottle and it didn't cost us anything. And yet we were to pay $10 here.
I think that's only just come in, isn't it? The steel charge.
Hey?
I think the steel charge has just come in.
And that's what I'm saying, how much does smart environment make out of all the recycling? Yeah.
Steel recycling.
So if the council took it over, wouldn't they make a profit?
For the council.
Potentially. Okay, thank you. There's some good questions and notes there. So, yep, we do this for the next 3 days and then deliberate next week on options. So one of which is user pays, as you.
I believe that's the only fair way, user pays.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Okay, no sign of anyone else out there? Yeah, might as well.
Who are you looking for?
Joanne Smith.
Another one. Another one.
Okay, so that's all the oral submissions for waste. Okay, councillors, so just note that that is the completion of the oral submissions for the solid waste consultation. There were a number of no-shows, which is always unfortunate, but the opportunity was there. We will adjourn the meeting now until, if you're back here, we'll be starting again at 1. So be back here in time to start at 1 for our oral submissions on the enhanced annual plan. So for those online, we'll be stopping the live stream and returning at 1. Thank you.